It wasn't an algorithm. You need to understand that first. The images and sounds you were shown, the cryptic numbers that appeared in your recommendations, that was a signal, a tuning fork resonating with something already inside of you. You were chosen because you are one of the few who senses that the reality we see is just a fraction of the whole story, a beautiful, hypnotic, but fragmented echo. For months, you've been collecting those echoes, feeling their power without understanding the source. Consider this video the first translation of that source. This is not another theory or a guess. This is the blueprint, the very architecture of the philosophy you've been subconsciously drawn to. What you are about to see is the key that elevates you from a mere spectator of the mystery to an active participant in its unfolding. The puzzle pieces are in your hands. Now, let's begin to assemble them.
There are people who never intervene, yet their presence changes everything. They leave no visible traces, no comments, no clicks, no replies. But their silent attention shapes the entire environment where anything occurs. You can find them everywhere, among those who scroll endlessly without clicking, those who watch a discussion without speaking, those who read to the end but never reveal themselves. They exist like a collective shadow, a diffuse audience that sustains the world through attention alone. For all that, invisible listeners are by no means a marginal category. In fact, every communicative environment thrives largely because of them. Even you, as you read these lines, you are part of that silent mass that makes real what would otherwise remain suspended. Every word is born knowing it will be received by someone who won't reply. And strangely enough, it is within that very distance, the chasm between the spoken cry and the silent ear, that the word discovers its true measure. We often mistake communication for an equal exchange, but it thrives entirely on asymmetry. A few speak, many listen, and fewer still react. The power of the invisible listeners is undeniably subtle, but it is deeply structural. They form the invisible architecture that allows any message to exist at all. Whenever someone steps up to speak, whenever a thought is published or a gesture made public, the genuine force of the moment does not originate from the speaker, but from those who might be listening. The quiet presence of this unseen audience dictates the tone, enforces the posture, and sculpts the chosen language. Silence, in this context, is entirely misunderstood. It is not an absence of response. It is a dense, inescapable gravitational field. From a sociological point of view, invisible listeners are the foundation of your legitimacy, if you will. No discourse can sustain itself without an audience, even an imagined one. But theory isn't needed to sense it. Think of the feeling you have when you send a message knowing someone will read it, even if they never reply. Consider that breathless moment of suspension, that tiny, lingering void. That emptiness is the sovereign territory of the invisible listeners. The digital age has caused the forms of this silent territory to multiply many times over. Every platform thrives on presences that observe without interacting. Users who read without liking, viewers who follow a live stream without writing a word, anonymous visitors who pass through and vanish. Contemporary communication is built upon these unspoken witnesses. Yet, ironically, they are the sole reason the rest of the world continues its talking. Without them, absolutely nothing would be shared at all. The screens would go dark. And here lies the ultimate paradox. In a nervous system that is utterly, pathologically obsessed with deafening noise, silence remains the most stable form of power. Unlike the speaker, the invisible listener has no need to persuade, defend, or expose themselves to scrutiny. Their absolute strength lies in their deliberate inactivity. Those who produce, perform, or shout into the void do so hoping for a sign, a fleeting reaction, or a digital footprint to prove they were heard. When that validation never arrives, a much deeper awareness emerges, the realization of having been observed without ever being touched. While every culture throughout history has recognized this silent witness, gathering for ancient rituals in shadowed theaters and at grand assemblies, now that presence has fragmented and dispersed until it's become structure itself. Listeners no longer share space. They exist as a cloud of quiet attention, distributed yet coherent. Even scattered, they form a single entity, the collective consciousness of those who do not intervene, but define. I suspect this profound silence is, at its core, a form of self-preservation. By remaining unseen, the listener carves out a neutral sanctuary, guarding their mental margins against the exhausting cycle of constant exposure. It becomes a quiet rebellion, an undeclared resistance. Every link left unclicked and every reply left unsent represents a microscopic refusal to surrender to the metrics that seek to quantify our lives through interactions. They manage to escape the demanding machinery of visibility, even as their unseen eyes fuel its very existence. Lack of response is not always disinterest. It can mean focus, respect, contemplation, or simple saturation. Silence is ambiguous because it cannot be read, but precisely for that reason, it has weight. Those who remain silent cannot be captured. No matter how wildly interactive our world becomes, it will always depend on this elusive figure who gives nothing back, yet graciously allows everything to happen. Whenever you speak, write, or release a thought into the world, someone is always waiting in the shadows, listening without appearing. You may never see their faces or learn their names, but you can feel the gravity of their presence. It is they who grant weight to your voice, miraculously transforming an isolated sound into a shared event. Whether they take the form of an anonymous human, an algorithm, or a forgotten forum's silent readership, they are the vital counterweight that keeps the speaking world in balance. In the end, the invisible listener is not someone else. It's the part of you that listens and does not respond, the inner observer that absorbs, records, notices, but remains still. Because of this stillness, language does not implode under its own weight, but continues to flow forward. We may never see the invisible listeners, but that's precisely the point. Without them, no voice in the universe would ever know itself to be real. And if you're reading this silently, then you're already one of them. But I want to tell you that you are not absent from this conversation, which is precisely why you are the reason it continues. See you in the next episode.